Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. Thanks for coming to my podcast at Outside the Business Box. This is Chad Murray. I am your host, and I appreciate the people coming to my podcast and listening. I just want to say thank you. It's been a nice ride. We've gotten over 1,000 downloads now. I'm getting an average of 20 to 40 people a week listening, and let's just keep growing it. And so I hope that my value is worth it for you, and let's get going. So I appreciate it. And so I'm growing as I do these myself. And so you can go over to YouTube and watch this if you like. Sometimes, and I'm not quite there yet, I'll be throwing slides up and stuff. But at this point, it's just you're just watching me, or you can be listening on Apple or Spotify or whatever other outlet you have that you're listening to. And so, but again, I wanted to thank everybody. So we're all growing our business and we're all learning together. And with my experience, hopefully I'm helping you out and I'm showing you the value. So I'm getting a pretty good consistent look. So here we go. So today's subject is leadership. And so I'm going to deal with all levels of leadership. And I wanted to first talk about, what really is leadership. So there's management and there's leadership. And leadership is the direction of how you get independent freedom to running an operation with everybody in sync, providing their value from top down. So management, the waterfall level, which is at the top, you're barking or giving orders or giving everybody direction and vision, and it trickles down. Well, you can be the visionary, but if you treat everybody and help them grow to be leaders, you actually start diminishing your role in a factor of they're starting to be a visionary in their position and roles and stuff like that, to where the business isn't relying on you so much. So, and maybe diminishing is not the right word, but I think you get what I'm saying. And so if you take and start developing leaders and not managers, anybody can point and say, do this and hold people accountable, but who inspires the people beyond that? And so there's a way of doing things that I'm still learning, to be honest with you. I'm still trying to inspire my leadership in my organization at Master Services, and it's a growing issue / process that we're dealing with, and trying to get everybody to own the fact that they don't need help to work it out. I'm okay with mistakes. I'm okay with correcting mistakes. I don't like stupid mistakes, because and I don't believe in saying that there's no such thing as a stupid mistake or question. There is. Clearly there is. If you're training someone and they're getting it and they lazily do something wrong, that's a stupid mistake. If someone asked you the same question 5 times and gone out and done it right maybe 2 times and comes back and asks you the same question, it's a stupid question. Sorry, that's my terminology. And I'll call people out on dumb questions all the time. It's like, not only are we not going over this, you are proficiently accomplished this other times. And what is now is where the word regression comes in. What's the regression here? Why? So that's why when you start building a company, if you stop management process and start leadership processes, wow, what a difference, right? You want to empower your people. That's kind of how the decision tree works. You're taking a question of you, you're defining the question of what it is to the person asking it, and then graduating them up the tree to a leaf decision, which is you don't need to call and talk to me anymore about this. You own this situation. You own the how to answer it. You know how to solve this. And, you know, don't call me again on this because you got this. So if you don't know what the decision tree is, it's another podcast, but I'll go over it again. And so let me bring it up on my screen here. The decision tree. So you'll think of it parts of a tree. There's a leaf, a branch, a trunk, and a root. So you're trying to get everybody to a leaf. A leaf is they've made the decision, they act on it, and you don't need to know the result. They just as part of their job. Which of course you're trying to get everything to the point of a leaf decision. Of course that'll never happen because there's always stuff that is going to occur that you need your hands in. But the more leaves you have, the less questions, the more time you have, the more empowerment you're giving your people below you, that you have a system now of defining their knowledge and defining them and how their development in your company is as they ask a question, you take it from a root to a trunk to a branch to a leaf. Sometimes you go right from a root to a trunk right to a leaf. You can skip things too. So let me tell you what they're. So leaf again is I don't care. You got this. You don't need to ever tell me you did it. Then there's a branch. You require them to make the decision, act upon it, but tell me at some point in time. I don't need to know when you're first done. You can tell me in the meeting tomorrow. You can text me, email me. It doesn't matter. I just kind of need to know what you did. You could tell me even a week later. It doesn't really matter. Now here's where everybody lives. They live in the trunk and the root. A trunk is make the decision, report it before you take action. That's where half of people live, and then they got the root. You don't know what the hell to do. The people are calling you constantly. What do I do here? And you live in the world of solving their problem, but not empowering them. So what you do is you tell them what to do, and they call you again on the same thing over and over again. And at some point in time, your head is going nuts because you're tired of the questions that have been completely competitive. Not what the word is, continually answered to you, asking of you. So you want to take and kill as many root decisions as possible, but you need to now I'm giving you the system of making it a trunk, branch, all the way to leaf, and you've defined it for them. So essentially, a root decision is, holy shit, I don't know what I'm going to do here. What do I do? And you need to define that and help them with the thing, but try to get them to think for upfront to do it. So once you've got a root decision and you have worked it out, tell them now, hey, it's a trunk decision. You know the decision. Report it before you take action next time, so I can clarify that you did understand when we did it as a root. It's a trunk now. So the next time he calls you up, he says, I got a trunk decision for you. It's similar to that the last time. This is what I'm going to do. Are we good to go here? Is there anything else I needed to know or do? And then you say, nope, you got it. You did it great. Now this is a branch. Next time you have this situation, make it, redo it, text me that you did it, good to go, or email me, whatever, tell me in the next meeting. And then you define that branch. After they've done it, you follow up on it that they did it correctly. So the next time they call and text you or something that, hey, they did it again, you now then graduate that same situation to a leaf. You don't need to know anymore. You got this. I'm empowering you with the decision making on this, and you know what you're doing. Great training tool, but great way if you're living in the world of trunk and root, where everybody's calling you for every decision. This is how you're going to empower them that they got it, they get it. So it's a nice leadership development tool to use. If you haven't heard about it, there you go. That's what I want you to do. And so, but what is a leader? I mean, what do you want them to learn? What do you want them to do? You want them to demonstrate, you know, the competency to grow, right? You want them to do that. You also want to be able to identify your leaders and your current leadership level so that you can train them to be better leaders. You want to develop a roadmap for leadership development as well. What does that look like in your organization? Are you just training all the time? And are they just sleeping during meetings or not only hearing half what you say? My suggestion, if you're living in the world where you're having meetings all the time, but like it doesn't seem like it's not sinking in. Start doing more hands-on training. Start calling your training lead learning. It's not training, it's learning. We're going to learn today. Everybody, we're going to learn. No more training. We learn. This is what we do. We learn, and we don't do training. We're going to keep learning. We're going to practice learning. It's just a great way to get everybody to wake up. And so, you want to also make sure you understand the difference between a leadership position and a true influence position. And so, what does that really mean? Understanding the difference. A positional leadership is someone that is an actual manager. True influence is a great guy underneath them working that's doing the program exactly what you want and is doing that. But you want to empower the true influencers as well in your company, you know? And so one of the biggest things to do here is also you're listening to my podcast. You're getting some type of training here, some type of coaching, right? The best people that learn from me are starting to do what I do with their company. Do a mastermind group every week or every month with your guys. Do a leadership training to where you're actually talking about growth and of their personal growth. Ask them to read a book, volunteer to read a book, and then do a class on what they learned about that book in a month. And so, I mean, this is development outside of just fixing an air conditioner or just cleaning a chimney or just fixing a toilet on a plumbing thing. That's what this is. You have to empower your people to want to grow. And you're going to see the leaders emerge or you won't. Which is it? And so you're never going to see leaders emerge if you don't empower them. Most people are stagnant and need a push. So offer them it. That is the biggest thing that I think I've seen in myself is I got on the path of coaching, not for my own development. I got it on to help you guys. And wow, have I changed as a person just from the books, the people I talk to. From 4 years ago, I'm not even recognizable as a personality anymore. If you knew me 10 years ago, I'm not, even 5 years ago, I'm a different person. I really am. And I would think in mostly good ways. And so, I can't verify that, but I have less struggles in my life. I've learned to shut up and listen more. Not as good as much with my wife and my family, but I'm working on that with them. Right, honey? Who's on the other side of me listening? And so she went, mm-hmm. And so, yeah. So, but in business realm, I've really flipped. I'm really trying to bring out my leaders in my company and not make them, want them to make themselves leaders. I flat out told my company's management that we're not going to exceed past $5 million if you don't grow. And I can't force you to grow. And growing is going to entail just the way I grew my company and myself. It's what you do from 5 to 9, not what you do from 8 to 5, which is how you're going to become a better leader in my company and a better person for all that matters. And so, what are you listening to on your drive? Are you listening to politics? Are you listening to the radio? Are you listening to a book? Are you listening to my podcast? Are you listening, to someone else's leadership podcast? What are you doing? What are your, and I'm not saying you're obviously listening. What is everyone below you doing? And so it's important to know what they're doing as well. So they need to report like to you what they're doing. And I don't mean like a system, like don't like you got to read a book every month and you got to do this, you got to do that. You need to bring it up in conversation. You need to ask, what are you learning? Have you learned anything from anything that you're doing outside of work? And ask them. Talk about your books that you're reading. Talk about podcasts you're listening to. The funny thing about knowledge, especially with people like me I'm highly dyslexic, did really crappy in school, hated school, except for when I was engaged with something I wanted to do. Then it was like, boom, I'm like the A+ student, right? And that's the way it is in life after, you leave school. It's like, I would be, if I could go back to high school right now, I'd be an A+ student. I just would. I would soak it up. I would be there for every class. I would take classes I want to take, and not just screw off classes and stuff. Luckily, I did take marketing too. And so I had kind of a little background from high school, not from college. But then I have hard school knowledge on marketing. And so I became a leader in that division. I can actually do a lot of marketing for myself and save me a ton of money, and I have. But where are you at with your people? Are you growing leaders or are you growing managers and positions? I mean, you want leaders. And so what does this look like for you? And so for me, what does leadership look for? So I've enrolled my management team into different groups and different things to get them involved. I've asked them to read a book and tell me about it at some point in time. I followed up with them and asked them questions. I've asked them to take and make me leaders of our employees and see who emerges from there. Because you know what, you're not going to make leaders. You're gonna ask for volunteers or watch actions, and you're gonna see leaders emerge. So that's one thing you have to understand is what you're not going to get. You're not going to force somebody into leadership because you gave them a management role. I see a lot of managers out there working for some of the companies I do that are quite frankly, they're robotic in their methods of I can't get them to do this. I can't do that. I got to go do it myself. It's like I listen to this stuff and then I go to try to help them and I try to get them to understand. And then 3 months later, I have another session with these people and it's like they're exactly the same. They didn't do anything to move along their pains to solve them. And so, I mean, it goes back to, you're going to take your painful thing and you're going to work on it the hardest. You're going to conquer it. And as painful as it might be with some tough decisions, you got to do it. Well, that carries right down to leadership and management as well. It's not just the owner. They have to learn systems as well. Like I just gave you the decision tree. That should be worked from top down. I mean, you literally, anytime someone calls, you stop them at their point. If they don't lead off with this is a trunk decision, or this is a a root, they shouldn't be calling and tell you about a branch or a leaf. If they do, it's like click. I don't even talk to you. Click. Email me, text me, it's whatever. But if they're not leading off that way, you got to stop the conversation. You got to say, is this a root or is this a trunk decision? And then they got to think about it. And then you do that every single time. And you don't ever stop. Every phone call is what type of trunk or tree decision is this? And you just got to work it. It's very easy system to work, but it's on the leadership to work it. but then you're also growing people in confidence. So anyway, I mean, I'm not going to stay on the decision tree. I've got a lot of companies now that I coach using it, and I mean, has changed their business. It just truly has. And so, um, but how do you take leadership and go there? So I am reading a book right now. I'm almost done with it. I'm looking it up on Audible. It's Turn the Ship Around. Steve Scally told me about it. You know, it's written by David Marquet, L. David Marquet. Turn the Ship Around. I got some notes on it that I want to talk about. So as I listen, I always like to take notes to see what I can learn from it myself and go. And so I'm just going to kind of go down the list. And so um, first note, we are letting things happen to us instead of being proactive. So what that is that when the author when David took over one of the nuclear subs uh, back in like the late 90s, it was like the worst sub in the fleet when it came to morale, their scores. The worst sub that he took it over. And when he showed up, I mean, it was a shit show. I mean, it was top down, waterfall method, everyone waiting to do the right thing. If they're not, no one was waiting to do the right thing. Everybody's waiting for an order to do so they didn't do the wrong thing. Well, think about that. If everybody's waiting to be told what to do because they don't want to do the wrong thing, what's your company look like that way? It's always you're never getting anybody to take initiative to get the right thing done if they're always waiting for you. And so letting things happen to them, that would continue to happen. So he wanted to make sure that the leadership and top down, everybody owned the leadership of their job, and so they could be proactive to do something before it occurred to be wrong. And so, I mean, a perfect example. I mean, yesterday we had an estimate of we went out to a guy's house. Chimney is just completely falling down. I mean, from the outside looking, it didn't look that bad until I saw the camera scope view. I mean, PCR completely new, which is cleaning out. A chimney brush won't clean it. It needs to have a chemical cleaning. It needed to be relined, missing brick in the inside, parged, back wall rebuild. You know, the spalling on the outside, which you couldn't see because the way it was kind of masked from the pictures until I zoomed in. I mean, we're talking $28,000 worth of stuff, and the guy bought it, and then he balked when we called. He bought and hit approval in person with our educator, our sales guy, and when we called up to schedule it, he hem hawed and balked, and so I found out. So I actually, when I first saw the approval, I'm calling up at the management, my leaders, and I'm like, is this going to get canceled? Because we've had quite a few cancellations this summer on bigger jobs, and I'm like, is this one going to get canceled too? And they all laughed. No, it's a go. But later on, when they couldn't schedule it, it's like, no, the guy's not going for it. And I'm like, I'm looking at everything, and everything's right on par. Everything we can do is just right on it. And I'm like, okay, let's get proactive here instead of reactive. Is the guy's not going to buy, so we're just going to let it go, right? No, I'm going to fight for our process and our sale. But I'm also going to be proactive in is everything we're doing the only way we could do it. And it turns out as I studied the inspection form with the just a ton of pictures that we do, and I'm so proud of our team that we can get a full picture scope of everything from me in the office. And I don't even work there, but I could look at everything and I could come up with a full view. And so here I am looking at everything. And I go, okay, I think we're gonna tear it down to the roof up and rebuild it. But generally, when we do that, the flue portion, which is the inner side of the chimney, the actual functioning exhaust of the chimney, which is missing a couple bricks or not in good condition, pretty much roof up. We were going to do a metal, a steel liner. And I'm looking at that, and the steel liner, after cost, install, everything else is going to be like $7,000. And I'm looking at it, I said, we're already tearing it down. It's not going to be that difficult to tear down the chimneys part of it, the exhaust part of it, uh, while we tear down the chase to rebuild the chase. I mean the chimney, the inside, the flue exhaust mechanism going out. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going there, and we're also doing a back wall rebuild so we can reach up uh, uh, in the smoke chamber. We can patch some stuff there where you reach. We can reach this whole chimney if we tear it down to the roof from the bottom up and top down of the section that is in between that. Right? It's not a tall fireplace. It's one story exterior too. So I'm like, okay, let's look at this. Let's just tear it down to the roof line. We'll be able to patch anything if it's below the roof line from reaching it from the roof or reaching it from the bottom, standing up in there and once the back wall's out. So we can reach all this. So we don't need a metal line it. Let's rebuild it. Let's put about an inch of thermocrete on it, which is a lining coating, and we can get this thing up to code, burning properly. And we dropped the price $7,000. The guy we called up and fought for that. We were proactive, not reactive, and just letting it settle. And so they're right there now. That was yesterday, and they're already started the job today. And so we got proactive. So we didn't let it happen to us. We got on top of it. So, okay, my next note. We intend to. So what is that? Let me take a drink here. Instead of saying, I'm going to do this, or let's do this, or anything like that, in this scenario, he says, when you're bringing up ideas or you're going to do something, I intend to or we intend to seems better than can I or will I or anything like that. Kind of a little note. I mean, I'm not going to really expand more on it. I'm going to try it to see if we can change our company language a little bit to talk like I intend to, we intend to do this, and see how it goes. I don't really know more than what my note meant on that one. And so kind of back up to the other one a little bit. The next note says a tendency to avoid making mistakes versus rather than to achieve excellence. Great statement, really. So all you guys building a business, I built my business on mistakes. I know you've heard other guys in the industry talking about where they've done all the mistakes that they've done, and we're all out there trying to help people. You know, our mistakes are here for us to talk about so you don't have to make them. But also, when you have a company culture, almost a policy of the tendency to avoid making a mistake and trying to rethink, overthink, have everyone ask questions, and I'll do this, you're stifling yourself. You're actually killing your growth. You're killing what could happen if something went wrong so you could learn so that it doesn't ever happen again. So you need to make mistakes to achieve excellence. You just have to. I mean, nobody builds the perfect business by never making a mistake. And if that's a great point also. Especially when you hear other people that have started their own business and they work for other people. And I know I did a podcast earlier, and I almost want to apologize for that podcast because there are a lot of guys out there that have quit their jobs from other chimney companies to go start up their own business. You know what? I've actually yesterday from a guy who lied for me and actually was stealing business from me a couple of years ago, started up his own chimney company. I actually reached out and messaged him yesterday. He hasn't responded. I mean, I don't know if he has me blocked or anything. And I did a follow-up text. But you know what? I just wanted to let him know that, if he ever needed any help, I'll be glad to give him any help because, I'm done. I'm not going to feel that way. So like in my podcast from before, I just wanted to let you know, I'm bitter from people that have learned the trade from me, but I also understand there's a lot of you guys out there that might even be listening that did. start your business in that way. And maybe not, maybe your scenario was different and just fed up with who you're working for. Let's face it, there's a lot of crappy businesses out there and you're sick of working for a crappy business owner. And so you started your own to be better. In my case, I don't feel that most of the people that quit me, they left a crappy business. I know I told the story earlier of a couple guys that in my earlier days, maybe in the early aughts, they may have left me because I was a crappy business, started up their own business. I recognize that. That doesn't mean I still hold a little bit of a grudge, but I've gone over it and I've talked to most of these people. And hey, uh, you know, I really do think this business is growing enough to where, hey, if you did it, you did it. I don't, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna embrace you to leave me even at this point to do it. I'll get over it someday and I'll forgive and I'll move on because I'm a better person. I don't want people to do that. But if you've done this and you've gone out and done your own business, I kind of see it from your side a little bit. If you are working for, like I keep saying, a crappy business owner. Um, but back to the avoid making mistakes. Don't avoid them. Embrace them. And so I actually had a client today could make his appointment today because he finally let one of the guys loose to go on his own, and the guy made a complete mess of his business last week, and he just literally couldn't make the appointment today. And I was just like, well, if you really think about it, as painful as those mistakes are, maybe it's a good thing that those mistakes are made. Maybe this guy will learn. Maybe he's not the right guy for him either. Either way, he's going to learn something to let the guy go because he's not the right guy, or he's going to learn from the mistakes and he's going to be a better guy. One of the two. So, okay, moving on. It's funny. I'll wait till you hear the second to last word in this next one. Clarity on our goals to the staff is not to be confused with crappy sales. Crappy is another word. I like the word crappy today. What does that mean? So I wrote this down because in my own management leadership group over the last 10 years, 7 years since I've been gone, I will say something and I want the mission to be, let's say we're hiring. Do not trade on hire. I don't care what we spend on hiring. I don't care, and the directive is hire, 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 train, 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 and now we don't call it training anymore now. We're calling it, learn, 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 learn. And so, and then 2 days later, I call it sales suck. Sales are so crappy, but I'm not saying change anything. I'm saying that. So what do? They pivot to what I just last said to, okay, stop spending as much money on hiring. We got to save money. It's like, no, I have to give you clarity here. My directive is not changed. My directive is hiring right now and learning, getting new guys to learn and train. That is not going to change. If sales suck, sales suck. We've got my company, we got the money to lose because we'll make it back from the people that learn. And at this point now we're approaching August. Yeah, I don't care how much I tell you sales suck. Make the guys learn because sales will unsuck as we get everybody learning and out on their own. And I will tell you, it is work. Our plan is working. And so our bigger ticket stuff is happening and I am very happy. So to move on. Okay. So here's a great thing, and it kind of goes to what I just said. So let's take that same scenario. So as I tell the guys, the objective here is to hire, hire, hire. I don't care about the money. Make sure you spend the money to get the apps in. Then the next day I say, hey, sales suck, crappy, oh my God. Now I don't say anything and never have. Change the budget or I'm shifting. No, my directive was still spend as much money on hiring as we could do. The next day, they get confused by a mixed signal from me because I say crap, sales suck, and the sales would suck, right? So here's the next thing in leadership. Think it out loud and tell each other and let everyone talk about it. If they need to understand, yes, I'm the boss, but they need to understand that as a leader, they need to keep their clarity. So if their clarity is clouded, they need to mention to me, okay, Monday you said unlimited hiring, right? Correct? Wednesday now you're telling us sales suck. Are you saying we need to change something or stay on directive? If they're wavering in what they want to do. And clearly, the last 10 years, I'd say, no. Keep the hiring. I'm just bitching. I'm just complaining. Sales suck. That doesn't mean change our directive. But that's a conversation that needs to happen. If your people, so this is great to understand, if your people are afraid to talk to you and tell you you're wrong, you need to change today. You need to have a meeting tomorrow and look at everybody in the face and go, I am not the smartest guy here. And even if you are, let them know that you don't know everything. And if you give mixed signals or you do something that they don't like, they need to have the willpower and the open green light to tell you you're full of shit. Or they don't like what you're doing, or they think there's a better way. How are you going to grow? I mean, that leads you to another leader thing here that I learned this a long time ago, and I've yet to act on it because my guys are doing so well. But, when you do go to higher management, it is something to think about of promoting within or promoting outside of the business. Why do many businesses promote outside of the business? Well, let me tell you why. You're looking for someone smarter than you with the experience to move you to the next level. If you're at a $2 million company right now and you are thinking of taking your best salesman or your best crew member and making him a manager, you might want to rethink that. Because do they have management skills, leadership skills? Maybe. But if they don't, what are you doing? You just took your best guy out to have someone to try to train them to be a leader and a manager when they have no management leader skills or experience? They have none. But because you trust them, you think that they're going to do great. I hear and see so many people that have done this, and it has failed. It has worked and failed for me in the process. I've taken guys and made them whatever, and then got rid of them, And so I've been fortunate with my leadership team. Now, I will tell you, they've never grown a business over 5 million. And we are working on how to do that. But they got the business at 2.3 and made it up to 4.5. Now we've regressed down to 3.5 right now, but they've done it up to 4.5. So right now we're building up to 4.5. And if I see that we are now stagnant again at 5, 4.5, 5, well, we've had the meeting with the leadership with it. We got to go find someone that knows what we don't know, And we're going to work on it. And I'm not firing anybody or demoting them. We will just add a position above them. And this guy will train us and lead us to 10 million. So, and that guy is going to be an expensive guy. I probably can't afford him. But I can't not afford him either because I don't know how to build a $5 or a $10 million company. I don't know how to build a $7 million company. I know how to build a 5. I've done it. I don't know how to do 10. I don't know if the same things I'm doing are going to work that way. And I have a sneaky suspicion I'm 50% on a good idea that we can or can't do it, and I don't know yet. I'm 50-50 on it because I trust my guys, and if I keep growing, maybe they can grow with me at their own leadership, and then we don't need to go find that guy. But that's if all of my leaders right now are growing with me. If they are not growing with me and they're not reading their books and they're not coming up with things that they read out of books to implement in our company, they're not the right people. They're not growing. They're at what I know. And if they are only stuck with what I know, I don't know how to build a $10 million company. I'm telling you right now, I'm recording this. I do not know how to build a $10 million company. I have not done it yet. I have a good idea, but if I'm not there to do it and they're not growing to learn how to do it with me, I'm going to go find someone to do it. Now, that just means someone's going to go above them. And then we're going to learn. And we're going to learn more, and we're going to learn. All right. Okay. And then here's the next thing, and I'm going to end on this note about leaders. Right now, if you're having meetings, they're pretty sleepy events. Probably, I've touched on this a little bit. You need to get your hands dirty in meetings. You've got to, if you're having a crew meeting and all you're doing is talking about policy and culture, it's boring and they're sleeping. And then it's like, no, if you've got a 30-minute meeting, get them outside, get them in the shop, show them something, make them do something, make someone else do a meeting that has to do with something. I don't know. I'm just giving you the idea. Do something to spice up learning. Because a meeting, I'm sorry, is boring. And they're just bored to death. Fact of the matter is, you can have a great meeting one day and 7 more meetings after it the next 7 weeks that nobody gave a hoot about. Maybe picked up one thing you said. So why waste your time? Get the people involved. So I mean, that's my leadership podcast. I think you kind of got some ideas of where to go from here, and that's what I'm doing. That's what this book, again, the book is, if you want to read it, it is "Turn the Ship Around" by L. David Marquet. I still have an hour left in the book, and so I'll update us if there's any more I learned from the book. But that was a great some takeaways that I had, plus some leadership stuff I already knew how to do myself. So, guys, I loved talking to you again. And by the way, if you need an inspection program, go Bare Hands Pro. Come on Tuesday night to Surefire Live. And then if you want to see and talk to me, if you're in the chimney business, chimney world, chat with Chad Wednesday night. So I love everybody. Appreciate you listening. And if you're on YouTube or something, drop a line. Say hello. I want to see who's listening. That'd be nice. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I don't know if you can do that there, but either way, maybe I can figure out turn comments on. That'd be nice. So everybody, have a great week.